Oh, what? Is this it over here? Oh, I get it. David, I love it.
The food's here.
Yeah. No, I don't have.
And then I tried to put our rotary.
Sorry, I've already had it. I think about it. Yeah.
I'm gonna take one for Scotty. It's crazy. It's like we're playing golf. Gravitates the water.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Hubbard. I'm back. I'm sorry I had stepped away from my desk. I see everything now.
For seconds and enjoy. At this time, we'll start the meeting with prayer. Thank you, Dr. Lamar.
Before I begin, Kathy Howard asked me to share with the club that Rosa Gordon's husband, Rosa's the one that helps us with the flag, her husband is very seriously ill. And so we lift him up in our prayer. And also for those of you who were here last week, and I told you about the fellow that got hurt at the Family Promise golf tournament, fell out of the golf cart. He died. So he was quite an elderly gentleman, and he really hurt himself. And so they took him to Portland, and he passed away. And it's just sad. And I also want to take this word to thank Shane for his hospitality in of the Presbyterians, for everything is done decently and in order.
And probably his wife.
And his wife, to make sure the decent part is checked. So my family is Presbyterian. You know, they're God's frozen chosen. But they think Methodist or Baptist you can read. So goes around. Would you join me in the spirit of prayer? Eternal God, we give you thanks for the blessings of this day, this beautiful day, to be gathered together in this beautiful place. And we thank for the hospitality that has allowed us to be here. We ask your spirit to be upon us, to be upon those who are ill and those who have passed, that we lift up before you, to ask your spirit to be upon our work in this community and upon this food, and to take it to the nourishment of our bodies and to keep us this day in your peace. In the name of Christ, amen. And one more thing, remember flags Saturday at 9 o'clock. Be there.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Richard Raymond will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Richard.
Hand of your heart. Repeat. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Beside her and guide her, reunite with the light from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, louder, wide with all. God bless America, my home sweet home. Thank you. Have a seat.
I did receive an update from Tracy, our secretary, that we've been missing for a couple of months. She has been released to go back to work and she's doing good. She plans to rejoin the first week of May, which is a blessing since Bobby has been so gracious to fill in and help us as the secretary. And Bobby will be having surgery the last week of April, so it's a blessing that Tracy will be able to pick up first week of May. So count our blessings. And I think we should give an applause to Bobby. I just greatly appreciate it. Lazaro, thank you. He fills in and helps us introduce the guests and updates his own membership. So it's your turn.
Well, thank you, Shane, for having us here, and it was very nice to just come a couple blocks from where we usually meet, so I did not have to alter or schedule or none of that. So thank you for the hospitality. I do have so we have some guests here today. From Shane, Shane's guests, we have Vicky. Vicky, thank you for being here. We also have Sarah, his wife, who's sitting over there. David as well. David, thank you. And then Fran, who I believe she just walked in, so thank you for being here. Our speaker is going to be introduced by Shane Webb here shortly. And then we do have a couple more guests. Michelle Flores is here today. Michelle, she is a guest of Terry Oliver. And of course, we have Aaron also as well, who's a guest of Rover also. Thank you for being here. Last time we were not able to show a video for the event as we were finishing up, but we wanted to play, I think Jordan has that queued. But before we play that, just let me get you guys a quick update on membership. Donna Arellano, I did not introduce you as a guest because we were able to vote you into the membership. So welcome to the club, and we'll be following up as well with more information, so that way you can complete some of the requirements and go over some of the guidelines as well. So and then we are adding 2 more members that I'm just waiting for confirmation for their information as well over the coming weeks. So we are very close to meeting that membership goal that we had set out to get to 70 members by the end of Linda's term here. So we'll get there hopefully pretty soon. So make sure you guys keep inviting people to come to the Rotary Club. Jordan, you have that? I need to unmute this real quick.
In the final moments of her 26.2-mile run, friends surrounded Angela Tortorese, seen here in the black.
It was huge, and we got a police escort coming in.
Here she comes, ladies and gentlemen! This finish at the Irving Marathon is setting a record, her 1,000th marathon.
I am officially the first female in the U.S., and I'm the youngest in the world according to the mega marathon list.
And you're not stopping.
Well, let's hope not. Still planning to keep running, but enjoy life a little bit more. Follow your goals.
While she celebrates meeting that milestone, others here are still working toward theirs.
I have a goal of running 50 half marathons before my 50th birthday, so this was number 37.
Well, it was my first half marathon and got just under 2 hours.
I did 10K and I won the second prize.
Longtime local educator and leader Gwen Craig participated in every race in the Irving Marathon running series over the past year.
2 years on Gwen Craig.
Did he really say I was 72?
I feel great, and I keep moving every day. And the reason I do it is because I want to be able to move.
While a lot of these athletes have milestones to celebrate and maybe recover from, the Irving Marathon is also marking a big milestone of its own. This is the marathon's 10th anniversary.
We are bringing in more crowds, more different demographics that I've probably never ran before.
What started in a city park a decade ago has evolved into a year-round series of events, with this one at the top of the list. And there are big goals ahead, focusing on more than just getting a good time on the course.
Fighting obesity, that is the big mission of the Irving Marathon Series.
I really believe that we can create a better generation where people are growing up a lot healthier, and that's what we're hoping to achieve over the next 10 years, to truly create a healthy community through the Irving Marathon Running Series, but also while doing that, we support the school district.
The Irving Marathon generates funds for the Irving Schools Foundation.
The Irving Marathon Running Series has really come along nice. It's become a real cornerstone of our city.
I feel the community, the vibe, it's contagious, like everybody's just so happy.
You know, you get super fast people, you get people walking the 5K, and it just brings the community together.
At the finish line, some want to stand out, some want to finish strong, and they all have something to celebrate. Meeting a goal at the Irving Marathon.
Getting through that finish line is definitely the best part.
Thomas Gandy for City Source.
Just to quickly go over that, we have raised 7 scholarships that were awarded this past, about 2 weeks ago to Irving ISD students. So there's 7 scholarships through the events that we do that have already been awarded to students. So with all of this that we're doing, we had 2,500 participants do the last event. We're projecting about 22,000 over the next 12 months. So there's a lot of healthy people and a lot of opportunities for the Irving Schools Foundation to use the Irving Marathon platform to address a lot of the issues and needs that the students are having. So thank you guys for your support. A lot of you guys were there. And I just wanted to show you guys some of the things that we're doing here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lethbro, for that update and making a difference in Irving and also with students desiring to go to college but needing additional funding. So tremendous. I want to call on Patty. She would like to give us an update. Thank you, Patty.
Well, not exactly an update, Madam President, but I wanted to invite you all to a Cocktails for a Cause next Thursday at La Cima Club. And you all know you cannot beat the view there, right, Terry?
Exactly.
And the beneficiary is Canine Companions. And y'all remember that Laura Manning is, Laz, is she still a member? She's supposed to come back to our club.
She's supposed to be getting a membership.
Okay. And she was with the Hospital Foundation and then moved over to Canine Companions and working with service animals and very nice program. So this is to benefit Canine Companions at the La Cima Club in Williams Square. And it's next Thursday, 5:30 to 7:30. So come and bring a little money for donating to Canine Companions. There'll be a complimentary cocktail and hors d'oeuvres. So thank you.
Thank you, Patty. I'm hopeful many of you will join and support, and especially since Laura Manning has been a member and coming back, which is excellent. So given our support, we'll cheer on maybe. Shane, our president-elect, will introduce the speaker, which I'm delighted and anxiously waiting to hear all the things he has to share. Thank you, Deb.
Excellent. Well, I'm going to give a very brief introduction so that Dean can get right to it. He is the CEO of the Halftime Institute. He has a book. He is the author of Trade Up. He does have some copies here, and he's going to speak to us on a topic that's relevant to each and every one of us, which is finances. So without further ado, let's invite Dean Niewolny. Yes. Gold star for today. Come on up.
Well, hello, everyone. We might talk a little bit about finances, but we're going to talk a little bit more about going from success to significance. And that has to do with the organization that I work for right now, and it's called Halftime. How many of you have heard of Halftime or read the book Halftime? Anyone? Good, there's one. Anyone else? Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit of background regarding Halftime. Halftime was a book written by a gentleman named Bob Buford. Bob Buford grew up in Tyler, Texas, ran a successful telecommunication company. His mother passed away at a very young age, unfortunately in a fire in a hotel room. Bob was thrust into the CEO position at an age of 32 years old. He loved the Lord and dedicated his life to the Lord. And when he started to become really successful in his mid-40s, upper 40s, 50s, he hired a mentor. Now, some of you may know this name, Peter Drucker, right? Peter Drucker. So Peter Drucker was Bob Buford's mentor. And when he went and sat down with Peter, he said, Peter, what should I do with my life? I want to give back. And he started a ministry, initial ministry, which was called Leadership Network. Leadership Network works with churches regarding management. He started to see how these big churches, the mega churches, were starting to start up all over the place. So he started an organization called Leadership Network that helped those churches. Then that started to become successful. And he got to, in 1995, he got to this point in his life where he's like, what do I do now? I want to continue to make a difference. Peter said, your life is all about going from success to significance. He said, why don't you write a book on your life? He goes, write a book? Who's going to read my book? I don't want to write a book on my life. He decided to do it. He wrote a book with the tagline going from success to significance. He said, what should I call it? Peter said, well, you like football, call it Halftime. So he called it Halftime, going from success to significance. He wrote it in 1995, and that book now has sold 1.1 million copies, and we have ministries in 8 different countries around the world. Bob had no idea this was going to happen. He died, by the way, in 2016. He had no idea that this was going to happen. He thought, I'm going to write this book, and if people read it, great, and if they don't, that's fine. But people started to call him on a daily basis. Hey, I feel the same way you do. I have this inkling of wanting to do something significant and make a difference with my life, but I don't know how to go about it. So that's how Halftime started. And the organization actually started in 1998, just because we had so many people reaching out to Halftime, wanting to figure out what's God's calling on their life. How can they make a difference? How can they live a life of impact? So that's how Halftime started. And that ministry now is 22 years old, 24 years old. And I stepped down as the CEO in April of last year. I'm now the chairman of the board, and 2 other younger guys that are much smarter than me are now running it, which is fantastic. So that's what Halftime is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I'm going to jump right into it here because I want you to lead with something. I don't want to just stand up here and talk at you. I want to leave you with something, and we're going to even do a little bit of an exercise at the end. So it's participation, just so you know. So here we go. After Bob got done mentoring Peter, one of the things that he said to Bob was people really have 2 lives, life number 1 and life number 2. Life number 1, they are over-prepared. They're underprepared for life 2, and there's no university for the second half. So when you think of the first half of your life, everyone goes to college, goes and gets an education, goes out and becomes successful. When you get to the point of midlife, or when you get to this season of Halftime, when you're trying to figure out what's next and how can I go make a difference, how can I live a life of significance, where do you go? And Peter Drucker said to Bob, there is no place to go. That's why Halftime should exist. What Peter went on to say is he said, the second half can be the most productive, most impactful, and the most leveraged part of your life. It is when you have the most wisdom, the most influence, and the most credibility. A lot of people get to this stage in life, midlife, and they say, well, I'm looking forward to retiring. I don't know if you've ever heard of Ken Blanchard, but Ken Blanchard said, I'm not retiring, I'm refiring. And the idea of Halftime is to take time, step back, understand how has God gifted you? How is God giving, what strengths has God provided you? What are you passionate about? It's always interesting to me when people come to halftime, they're like, I'm not passionate about anything. And I'll never forget one guy came up and he said, I'm not passionate about anything. And he went on for 20 minutes how underprivileged kids could not get into universities. I said, well, buddy, you're passionate about that. I can tell you that. So everyone has a passion, and everyone really wants to live this life of significance and make a difference. They want to have an impact. They want to leave a legacy for their kids and for others. So I'm going to do a little test here with you. And whoever can answer these questions right, I don't know if it's good or not, but you get a free copy of my book. So here we go. The first question is, what percentage, now this is a Gallup poll, what percentage of people do you think go to work every day and feel by their own admission that they're doing something of significance? What percentage?
35, 10, 25,
20. 1 out of 5 folks go to work. I guess I'm supposed to stand behind the camera. Way to go.
Thanks a lot.
Yes. 1 out of 5 folks go to work every single day and they feel like they're not living a life of significance or they're not making an impact. They go to get a paycheck, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But at a certain time, when you do that every single day, you get to a point of burnout. You're looking for something that has more impact, more of a lasting effect. Here's question number 2. This is a Harvard study. So what percentage of men and women between the ages of 45 to 65 said that they would have changed careers if they would have found something with more purpose and meaning?
75%.
50. Yep. 50% of men and women 45 to 65 years old said they would switch careers if they could find something with more purpose and meaning. Now, I have a young son, and I always wonder, my son's 20. And of course, he's excited about football, and you know how kids are. They're like, I want to go make money, and I'm going to be successful, and I'm the next Bill Gates, and so on and so forth. Well, that was me also, by the way back when. But I'm trying to instill in him at a young age that at the end of the day, it really is about transformation. It's about changed lives. It's about leaving a legacy and making a difference in people's life. It's an empty existence if you get to the end of your life and you haven't made a difference or haven't left a legacy. So here's the last question, last book. It's a USA Today study. What percentage of folks that they went out to said that instead of getting a new job, they would rather make a difference and have a job that really does make a difference? What percentage of people in the workforce?
88.
It's 41%. 41%. Who wants to? Who was closest? He's 43. So the reason I mentioned that is USA Today, this was only a few months ago, went out with this study or went out with this poll and asked the question. The most answered question was, I would like to have a job that makes a difference. The next was, I want to get a new job, right? 7% said only that they would like to get a raise or make more money. So it's instilled in us, right? God gives us this burning desire. We talk about Ephesians 2:10 at halftime. For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works that he has prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. So what does that mean? That means that God has instilled in us this desire to live a life of significance. He has gifted us with certain gifts and talents and skills. And there's an expectation that we go and find out what those are and use them to go make a difference. So a really quick background on me. I grew up in Wisconsin. I'm sure you can't tell. I have that Texas accent, right? Grew up in northern Wisconsin. I'm a Green Bay Packer cheesehead through and through. And go Pack. All right. My mom and dad, fantastic parents, they're still alive. But one of the things when I was a young kid that we talked about all the time is what other people had. Look at what they have, look at what they drive, look at their house, look at this. And as a young kid, that gets instilled in your mind. And when you start growing up, it's like, well, I want to be the Ericksons. I want to have that house. I want to have that car. And that was me. So when I got out of college, I went into the financial services world in 1987 with Merrill Lynch, and then moved through different ranks with Merrill Lynch and UBS and Wells Fargo. You know, they all merged together. And over the next 23 years, I was in a management position with multiple different firms. But I always had this kind of inkling that I'm not doing anything for others. I was so focused on myself. It was, how could I be successful? I actually heard Bob Buford get interviewed in 1999 at Willow Creek Community Church up in Chicago. And he was talking about this idea of going from success to significance. And I thought, that's really great for you. I'm still about the success piece. And I was so focused on making money and accumulating things because that was going to bring me all this happiness. And as I started to accumulate things and started to make more money, I became more miserable, to be quite honest. I became more stressed out. I wasn't a good guy to be around. And what I realized after listening to Bob talk about going from success to significance, this making money and focusing on myself all the time was so empty. So I got to this point in 2006, I'm standing on the 40th floor of the Morgan Pile Exchange building in downtown Chicago, overlooking my empire. And I opened my arms up and I just screamed out the window, God, there has to be more to life than this. There has to be more to life than this. So what ended up happening is a buddy of mine a few weeks later called and said, hey, would you like to do a book study? And I said, sure. I said, what's the book? He said, we're going to study this book halftime. I was like, oh, fantastic. I heard that guy get interviewed in 1999. I'll fast forward here, but we started doing what we call the halftime huddle, where we got together with 11 men and women, and we started going through the book. And I made a decision that day, after this 40th floor office experience, that I was going to make sure I figured out how does God want to use me for his kingdom going forward? How can I make a difference in others? I went through the halftime program. Bob Buford said 3 things. He said, he shared Ephesians 2:10 that I just shared with you. He said, in my opinion, there's going to be an audit at the end of your life. And the audit's going to have 2 questions. And the question is, what did you do with Jesus? What did you do with the gifts that you've been given? And I was like, wow, gifts I've been given. I didn't even know I really had gifts at that time. So I started looking into that. The last thing he said is what really struck me. It's not going from success to significance. It's going from success to significance to surrender. Now, I don't know how many in here are type A personalities, but surrender was not something that I wanted to do. I was all about controlling things. But when I ultimately got to this surrender point, and I don't have time to share the story, miraculous things happened and we left Chicago and I ended up down here in Texas. And believe me, this was the last place my wife wanted to come at that time. And we love it now here. But God spoke to her in a dream one night. And 2 years later, I was named the CEO of the Halftime Institute, which was just miraculous. So I'm going to leave you with a little exercise. And so here we go. If we could, Jordan, put that up on the screen, please. Please understand, I'm trying to take 45 minutes and put it into 10. So that's why I'm rushing a little bit. So right when I started at halftime, one of the first exercises that they had me do was this exercise. It's called the 80th birthday party. Now, I don't know the ages in this room, and I'm not going to guess, but I think this should be retitled the 95th birthday party because people are living a lot longer, which even means there's additional years that you have to figure out how to go and serve and make a difference. We're living a lot longer. But here's the question I want to ask you, and we'll end here. This is the 80th birthday party. Your 80th birthday party is today, right now. So I'm going to read this to you. Imagine it's your 80th birthday party and your loved ones have planned a small dinner at your favorite restaurant. When you arrive at the restaurant, You're surprised to see the whole building has been reserved just for you. There are 100 of your closest family, friends, and colleagues there. Then one by one, each one walks up to the microphone in front of the room and speaks to the 3 issues below. What would you like to hear them say? First question is, here's what I admire most about you. Here's the difference you made in my life. And the third one is the one that I want to settle in on for just a second. This was the one that had the most impact on me. Beyond your marriage, family, and friends, the most significant contribution you make to humanity is what? I was at a funeral at that time for a lady. She was a teacher. There had to be 1,000 kids at this funeral. And I'm thinking, this is before I went through half. I'm thinking to myself, if I died today, first of all, I don't know who would show up to my funeral. Secondly, I surely don't know what they're going to say because it was all about me. This last question is what turned everything for me. What am I doing to make a difference for humanity? What am I doing to make a difference for others? What am I doing to make a difference for the kingdom? Who am I building into, and what legacy, if today was my 80th birthday party, am I leaving, and what would they say if they walked up? They'd probably say Dean's a good guy, he's funny, I don't know if I'm funny, but he's a good guy, we love being with him, he's been successful, he's made a lot of money, he has a little airplane, but there'd be nothing else that really mattered, nothing else that really stuck. So I'll leave you with this verse and then I'll open it up to any questions. Usually I ask people if they'd like to respond to any of those, but I don't think we're gonna have enough time today to do that. But here's a verse that I just want you to think about, maybe write down, and in your quiet time, just ponder this. It's Galatians 6:4-6 in the Message Bible. It says, make a careful exploration of who you are and the work you have been given. Then sink yourself into that. Don't be impressed with yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. Each of you must take responsibility for doing the creative best you can with your own life. The Apostle Paul in Ephesians 4:1 tells folks, get out there and fulfill your calling. Better yet, run to your calling. We all have callings. We're all called to do something. I'll stop there and open it up for any questions. My book is called Trade Up. Trade Up. And there's another one out there that's called Trades Up, but mine's Trade Up. His is very good. It's all about financial services, but mine's not. Any question, anything. But me personally, halftime, the journey of halftime, women in halftime, we're starting women in halftime. We have 60-40 now, 40% ladies went through the halftime program. Any questions? So there's 5 programs you can pick. The shortest program is what's called Dream Together. It's where you and your spouse, if you're married, go through a 2-day program. The next program is coaching, one-on-one coaching. It can be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, you pick. Then the other 2 programs are 1 year in length. That include a bunch of programs, a bunch of coaching meetings here in Irving. So there's another program, but it's longer than that. But there's different programs that we're doing, such as 1-day taste of halftime. So if you have an interest in learning more about it, I'll gladly go deeper into it. Grab one of my cards. I left my cards on the back table. Please grab one and I'll gladly talk to you after. Thank you for the question. What else?
Let's see, did you take one of them?
Did I take? Oh.
Thank you, sir. Okay, does anyone have an announcement that you need to make? Remember, Dr. LeVar will have flags Saturday from 9 to 10, and then Patty have a nice social on Thursday evening from 5:30 to 7 at the Lacima Club to support the canine program, which makes a huge difference with a lot of disabled individuals. Anything else? Okay, our new meeting will be back at the Las Colinas Country Club next Thursday at noon. And we will close with a four-way test. President-elect, will you lead us in the four-way test, please?
Absolutely. We don't have a banner with us, but I invite you to please stand. And those of you that know it, join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to